Okay, starting the YouTube stream. Stream. And now that I hear myself in YouTube, we are good to go. Stream. And now that I hear myself in YouTube, we are good to go. So welcome, folks, to the 2026 February 24th. Oh, disregard the date on the agenda. I'm sorry I didn't catch it before. It's not February 24th, 2025. This is February 24th, 2026, Rider Oversight Committee. Sorry you didn't catch that before, Wig, Len.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm Stefan Wunsch, the co-chair. Wig, want to introduce yourself as the other co-chair?
Wig Zamor, longtime Somerville member of this committee.
Thank you. And Len?
Yeah, I'm Leonard Diggins, a new Somerville resident, although I lived in Somerville on and on, on and off. The first time was almost 40 years ago, so yeah, using the Orange Line a lot these days, the 80 bus, so yeah.
80 bus. I might like to ask you more about that later, but that's
Sure.
later if we have time.
Had
And Craig.
Had a service increase. Go ahead.
Yep.
I can tell you a lot
Craig
about it.
Leskowski, public member, Milton, Massachusetts.
And thank you for keeping tabs on the PCCs, Craig. We know it's been a rough couple days for you. Unless you were working from home, were you?
Yeah, I've been working from home.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. Before you joined, Craig, Wig was telling us that he had been out and about on foot a bit, and I was praising him for his fortitude, probably having to walk in the street a lot, but Wig was just commenting on how everybody was staying home and staying inside pretty much, as you'd expect.
A lot of people were out shoveling. I think the issue is more there's some pretty buried cars.
Yeah, I've been out shoveling.
That's putting it mildly. Before we get into agenda, there is nobody watching on YouTube yet, so no comments on YouTube. I don't see anyone other than us four on the Zoom. I guess actually we're pretty much right on time now that it's 5:15. Do any of you gents want to draw specific attention to any of the recent MBTA board meetings, presentations, etc., content in general? I'm going to be pulling them up in the background.
Yeah, I mean, I don't fully understand the audit statement. So when I first read through it, it's like, okay, so they're planning on doing an audit, and then just now when I start reading it again, it's like, this is the summary of the audit or what? I'm not quite sure. And there's got to be more to it, than this. So it's just really a matter where to find it. So I'll look around the website and see what I can find.
Okay.
Shouldn't be too hard if it's there to find it. But the other communications topics were interesting. Particularly interested in seeing what the disagreements with management were. And the significant difficulties encountered during the audit. So I'll look around and see what I can find if indeed this was like the closing of the audit. And it also kind of makes me wonder. Clearly, like the MBTA, I guess, is paying someone to do this. The opening statement or the beginning statement was like, well, this audit isn't, to make sure that everything is done correctly. It's not an absolute audit. It's a reasonable audit. Okay, it's like, okay, fine. But then I always think of an audit as like pretty hardcore thing, and
Yeah.
And I also kind of wonder, I know that the auditor, like Susan Bump back in the day, in her day, I should say, did some audits of the MBTA. One in particular I found was very interesting was the use of derivatives. I think they were interesting derivatives based on bonds, if I recall correctly. And this was like over 10 years ago. Um, and so I kind of think like an audit of the MBTA should be something like the state auditor would just kind of do as a matter of course, and that you wouldn't really have the MBTA like hiring an auditor to do it. I mean, it's fine, but I would just like to think that it would be something pretty rigorous that's done by, the state auditor, who then reports to the public, what they found, So, but I've been around long enough, being that I haven't heard the state auditor doing, this kind of audit, so it's no surprise to me that it's not happening. But I'm just kind of like wondering why that isn't the case. That's all.
You
Not gonna,
know,
I'm not gonna make a case out of it. I'm just kind of wondering out loud. Go ahead.
Okay.
well, where you might expect a change in audits is the federal government. I mean, at, at this point, it seems pretty unpredictable um, which people are able to continue practice as usual and which are not.
Okay, and that's a statement, but I see
Yeah,
it as a non sequitur to what I was saying. Right? It's not
yeah, no,
following.
no, that's
Okay,
right.
okay, sure, that's
That's
fine.
right. I just
Okay.
think um, I, it's clear that there's a disconnect in more areas than normal between the current White House and the other parts of the federal government.
Well, anyways, we in the audit, the next to I think like the next to last page, maybe not the next to last page, but there was significant on the I think it's slide 10, significant deficiencies and material weaknesses, where apparently there was a variance with the rolling stock, assessment, and I was kind of interested in this, and I guess one of the reasons I'm kind of interested in like seeing the details of the audit is because to me that touches on asset management, and so it's like I'd like to
Right.
see just how detailed the audit is, because if it's really detailed, then to a certain extent you have a really good sense of what the assets are, which, and if it's not, then the question is why isn't it, and so if it isn't by design, like they're just not going to look at what the T has, at that granular level, then okay, me, I'd like to think someone would do so at some point in time. And if they are intending to do that and they can't do that, and it's because of an asset management issue, then it's like, okay, how do we rectify that problem? But in all honesty, I know that they, have a decent handle on TAM, because they have to do that. They have to report to the MPO, annually to give an assessment of how they are meeting various objectives. But eh,
Right.
I'm not sure where it is versus where it was 5, 10 years ago when transit asset management was a really big deal. So that's kind of something that's kind of fallen off my radar a bit, and maybe I can get it back on. So that's all.
Well, I think one issue will be the degree to which whatever is happening in the DC area affects or doesn't really affect whether people are behaving as normal in the regions.
Mm.
But I think it could be a pretty big issue.
Yeah, well, but
I'm not
TAM,
predicting that. I'm just
yeah,
saying it could be.
yeah. Well, I guess I'm trying to confine this to the MBTA in particular, and I think to a certain extent this is just isolated from what's going on in DC, unless it affects the funding, which then affects the ability to do proper TAM, transit asset management. Because the reason for really wanting to do that was like well, not only is it a good idea to know what you have, but it was really to get a good handle on the state of good repair, because without really knowing what assets you had and what conditions are in, then there was no real way to really assess what your state of good repair was. And so, so, and I remember thinking like Rob, I'm forgetting his last name. He was on the team
No,
for a while. Guptill, think for a while, like he was involved in that, and then I mean we met. I think the last time we met with someone, he was pretty high up, and gave a really good kind of
Yeah.
overview of what they were planning on doing, and it was really comprehensive. It was like,
Yep.
yes, this is really what we need, and
Yep.
the plan to be really computerize, well, create effective databases, and then understand the interconnectedness, of the assets, and how being getting various assets up to good repair, how to sequence it, apparent in essence, means so that you're not only trying to have this database, of what you have, but then how to manage it in effective way that would give you synergies, based on how you sequence, getting various assets up to a state of good repair. That was a mouthful. I hope it made sense, even if you don't agree with it.
I think I understood everything that you said.
Okay.
I'm having a bit of a gap in connecting state of good repair. Well, it may not be related to this particular issue of the net book value. So maybe I'm aiming this at Craig and Len. Well, I mean, I bet all three of you gents have a better sense for fiscal things like this than I do. Could you give me, like, in a nutshell, why is it important to have the correct valuation on the books for rolling stock? I mean, once you've bought it, you've bought it. Who
Well,
care? Who cares if the value goes up? I mean, who cares what the value is? Like, is that something that's important to seats to know? Is like whether
yeah,
your
well,
transit car is, whether your rail vehicle is worth $1 million or $8 million. I really don't know. I don't understand it.
well, it can get pretty complicated. I mean, Craig might want to jump in here, but um, first you have to obviously assure that the assets are real and they're not
Hmm.
just on paper, having disappeared out the back door at some point,
Makes
which
sense.
does happen. I mean, as someone who grew up in northern New Jersey, I certainly understand that. Um, but the, especially with capital assets, I did a lot of accounting in oil and gas and in real estate, and you know you've and one of the distractions is, in my view, is actually the when some of the rules get too picky, and you're really kind of chasing the format as opposed to the substance, right? I mean, but anyway, I mean, someone else jump in if you want to.
Well, no, well, I mean, so look, I see what you're getting at, Stefan, and to a certain extent, what I am talking about with TAM, is not really following me from where I started with, this
Okay.
page, this deck,
Okay.
so it was a bit of a non sequitur on my part. But if I
That's okay.
were to try
That's
to
all right.
tie it to this, just for the intellectual exercise of it, I would say that, the valuation can be based on the quality of the state of the asset. And if your asset isn't in good condition, the valuation is going to be lower. And so if the valuation changed because of the condition of the assets, then it would be good to know that, and maybe that will be stated, in the full audit, if we see it. And what gives me a little bit of a hook into that statement is the um, penultimate, or the very at the bottom. There's a sentence: no significant deficiencies, and then right above that is, additionally, there were immaterial adjustments needed to write off obsolete assets. Um, so I'm not using that as the statement that says that changed the valuation. I'm just saying that it
Okay.
seems like that is a factor, in the valuations, and that would maybe factor into net book value.
Okay.
But I'll go back to the beginning where I said that what the conversation I had after I brought this up was a bit of a non sequitur.
That's okay. That's
Okay.
okay. I think I actually get it. It is are you suggesting that the I don't know, the FTA, federal agencies, maybe even state agencies want to ensure that transit assets are being maintained properly and they're doing it by way of the book value? Is that what
No,
uh,
no, no.
no,
I mean,
okay.
I think the audit is the audit, and so I don't think the audit is following anyone else's agenda. I mean, I think the audit is just there, to assess what you have. I don't think like any other
Okay.
federal or state entity is using audit, as a way to promote their goals.
Okay.
And
Because I mean,
that shouldn't be
maybe
the
I'm
case. Go ahead.
oh sorry, I didn't
Go
mean to
ahead.
cut you off.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Well, okay, because maybe I'm hyper focusing, but the second sentence in the second paragraph, um, management concluded that the net book value of rolling stock at the end of the fiscal year was overstated by $242 million. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a huge number when you consider what were we just finding out within the last month or two that each of the Type 10 cars, I think, is $8 million. If I have a vague memory that your typical uh, bus is a million or a million and change, maybe for the battery ones. Don't quote me on that. That's like a vague, no, that's like a rounded, very rounded number. So 242 million. I mean, that's a huge
Well,
number. What does it really
yeah, but
mean was happening? Like, what's the
it depends
impact?
how big you got to look at it as a percent of the whole, for one
Okay.
thing. That would be a lot if you were auditing me. Um,
Well, I mean,
but
it's in the next paragraph. Like the opening net book value of 1.7. So
right.
242 out of 242 million out of 1.7 billion is a pretty big fact. I'm
So
not good with math
what
like
year
that, but
what year are red line cars? Are they go back to 69 are the oldest ones?
oh yeah, 69 all the way up to I
Yeah. So
think
it'll
CRC,
when you
yeah.
start getting into valuation, you start into accounting, there's different methodologies, different ways to do it. So
Okay.
I mean, when it comes down to it, it's as basic as the T may be valuing its 1969 red line cars at a higher, they may say, well, they're still out there, they're still in use, so I'm gonna add value to them. In a different
Right.
accounting firm, they say, well, they're so old that they're fully depreciated and they don't count against anything. They should be in the scrap heap and worth nothing. So I mean, you can very easily, depending on what model you use for depreciation and what assumptions
Yep.
you make, because all you're doing is making assumptions, right? Like there is no
Well,
this,
no.
this isn't something where there's a secondary market where it's like, hey, what's like you don't go on eBay and say what's the value of a 1969 Redline car. It's you're making assumptions based on certain things about cost to replace or I mean, there's a million different ways you could do it. So it's to me the interesting question is it goes back to and I think you asked this earlier, Stefan, like what's the impact here, right?
Yes,
If
exactly.
a I would think so. So when you're doing it for a private entity, right? It has implications to your taxes and how you
Yep.
in things like that, right? Obviously, the T doesn't pay taxes. It's the other way around. So it's not that. So there must be um, what I would
Well,
say. But it does mean in terms of when you start to go and like you start asking for money, right? Like if you've overvalued the assets that you have, that may mean we have a bigger hole in terms of what it would cost to replace in the millions in front of us to actually bring things up to a state of good repair. Like they're
Hmm.
that's where I would start to see the implications of it. It ties back to it. Oh, don't worry, we're in good shape. We have $100 million worth of trains, and the reality is, an outside firm says, no, that's really like $50 million worth of trains. It's not as good a shape as you think, or something like that. I think there's maybe implications of
Okay.
scheduling and planning, but I don't know. I'm to be fair, I'm a little over my skis on this, so I should.
all right. you know,
That's okay.
one thing that you have to watch out for is it's one thing to know all the accounting rules and whether they're being applied well, but you have to do a physical asset check. And there's a lot of accountants that aren't necessarily really great at climbing into buildings or checking whether an oil a tank field that's supposed to have 5 million gallons of fuel actually has 3 million gallons of fuel, and someone put the other 2 million in their pocket somewhere. The physical inspection is not the same thing as following the right accounting rules.
Yep. And that's actually called out in this first paragraph. Um, there were no significant variances in the number of assets reported. However, there were not sufficient detailed records to support the rolling stock assets that were reported in businesses.
Yeah.
That's
Hey, I've just been looking. I can't find anything more about the audit, on MBTA's website, And like I said, I mean, I started off by saying like I don't understand this audit, so I remain in that state of mind,
sorry.
and so yeah, and so I guess the next step is, since I can't find anything on the site, is to maybe throw the meeting, into some LLM and generate the transcript so I can read it, because I don't have the time, to watch the meeting to find out what was said. But if I
Understood.
could read it, I can read it much faster than I can watch it. So I'll put that on my list of things to do. I don't know if it'll ever percolate up to the top
No problem.
and get done, but yeah.
Another thing you can think about is some of the contract issues with the big dig, right? Those are turned out to be huge issues.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, thank you for indulging me on those details. I do feel far more enlightened about it than I did even 15 minutes ago. So thank you very much for that.
Sure. I'm the
And
staff indulger.
something like the state of good repair of a tunnel could be a lot harder to assess if you don't have geotechnical skills than the state
Yep.
of good repair of a train.
Yep. Good point. Do you mind if I pull in something from that same board finance subcommittee?
Yeah, I hope I know what it is. Go ahead.
It's about the VW emissions scandal payout. I don't know if you remember.
Yep.
Is this what you thought I was going to pull in, Len?
No, not what I was hoping you would pull in. I hope you would pull in the pro forma.
Oh, okay. We'll do that next.
Yeah, we'll get that. Yeah.
Yep. I remember hearing about the emissions scandal from VW, and I remember that there was awards of settlements, but somehow I guess I missed that the settlements were going out to individual states, apparently. I mean, that's the second bullet point here. Massachusetts received 75 million to spend on environmental mitigation projects. That's amazing. I don't know how I missed that it was states that were getting that payout. Is it that simple that VW paid to various states?
Well, yeah, yes and no, because I mean, this is a pretty good example. They were using software that was programmed to be in error.
Yes.
And so this is many billions of dollars. I mean, this is,
Oh yeah,
probably
yes. Oh yeah, and I'm not questioning the payout. I'm just wondering, was this the case across all 50 states, or
well,
what?
not
I mean,
necessarily, because
okay.
this is a Clean Air Act obligation, right? And
Ah,
Massachusetts and California by far had the worst clean air issues.
does that does that indicate that they would have gotten a larger percentage of the
Well, it
total
depends
payout
because
for
I
to the US?
imagine the total amount of the award was decided first, and
Okay.
then the award by country, and then it probably shifted over to government and politics within the country as to what kind of formula was used to disperse that award,
Okay.
right? Like, if you're doing it on harm to the environment, California would probably, certainly for mobile sources, California would be a major, major amount
Yeah.
of the total. But if you're doing it for some other reasons, like all the car owners have to get their cars repaired, then it would be it'd be a different fraction. And so it's actually in the big details of the settlement that the dynamics, assuming everything's fair, it's on the up and up. It's actually in the big details of the settlement that then trickles down. And
Okay.
if a state, this would be very hard for a state auditor to do. What do you think Massachusetts state auditor understands about combustion and
Yeah.
chips?
Well, that's what staff is for, right? So you go out and get the experts, to help you
Yeah,
understand,
no, that's right. You
yeah,
go to Aerodyne Research and they can tell you. You go
yeah.
to ARI, they
So,
could tell you. But
so
if you
you have your
don't know
staff.
who ARI is and you don't know how much better they are than everybody else in the United States, then you're probably in trouble.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, I mean, hopefully you have a staff that knows what they don't know and then know who to ask, um, to get
yeah.
the
Well,
expertise assessments that they need. But
in this particular case with this settlement, if I'm reading it right, Massachusetts received 75 million, okay, 75.1, administered by Mass DEP, and Mass DEP made the decision to direct it to the MBTA for replacing diesel buses with electric. And then the MBTA subcommittee has to vote to actually do that?
Well,
accept
Y-
them.
also the feds have to approve it. Once the state comes up with their formula, it's really in the control of the federal overseers and which departments of federal government are involved and actually which smart individuals. It's like the folks that we sometimes have access to at the T who are super knowledgeable, right? Like, you
Right,
guys
right,
all
right. Oh,
often refer to Wolfgang or, you know, you have to know where someone has to know where those people are. And it's not this is not the kind of, a politician can say they're going to want to do this or that, or a staff person in the government. But if they don't have the science and technical skills, good
yep,
luck.
yep. I think I may have just answered my own question by rereading this slide again. It didn't sink in the first time. Authorize the GM or his designee to approve and execute a contract. In other words, just because Mass DEP wants to give $23.1 million to the MBTA doesn't mean it can just happen without something that formalizes it. So, yeah, yep, okay. Sorry. The first time I read this, it didn't register. Why is there a board vote about this? Oh, of course, because it's a contract. It's a contract between one agency and another state agency, between MBTA and Mass DEP to make it happen. So of course it needs a board vote. Okay, sorry. The light just dawned on the shining mountain here.
All right. Yeah, I guess the more interesting question is how did DEP, decide that MET is going to get 23 million, you
True.
know, so I mean, I'm sure they did some consultation with MassDOT, and then the question is like, where did the other, 52 million go? So, because that's just 23,075,000, you know.
Yep.
So, hey, this again on my list. I'm not sure if it's going to go above or below the audit item on my list. We'll determine. So,
Yep, I hear you. I hear you. We'll have to ask Jonathan at the next joint subcommittee meeting if he knows what's the translation of this electronic roll sign on the front of this Excelsior, because Charge NG, I mean, I'm sure it's next generation. I'm sure this is Excelsior Charge next generation, but when I first looked at that, I I read it as, oh, it's a battery bus. It was plugged in and the charge is no good. That was actually the first thing that I read there was the charge is no good on the battery bus. What?
oh,
That's maybe just my brain.
that's no, it's interesting. I usually pick up on the tails, but not in this case. I
Yeah.
didn't even look at the picture really, you know. So like I kind of really breezed through this slide. It's like, okay, $20 million for
Oh,
battery electric
but
buses. This is good.
without further
Yeah,
ado, you said that you wanted to talk about the pro forma.
yeah. And
Now,
sorry,
just
I didn't mean to imply by that we should stop talking about
no, no,
this.
no.
I
I
was
was all
just
done.
explaining
Sorry.
why.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
yeah.
was,
So okay,
I was,
all right.
I was all done. I,
Okay,
like I said, I answered my own question about the vote from the board on that. It all makes sense now. So yeah, I pulled up
yeah,
the pro forma slide.
yeah.
If you want to direct
Yeah,
me to a particular page, let me know.
sure, sure. I'll just add as a side those. There, there were times on like the Arts and Select Board, I would like, you know, breeze through an issue, me reading doing the reading before the meeting, you know, and thinking, oh, this is no big deal. And then we end up like spending a lot of time on this and delving into it. I'm going like, oh, I didn't think that was going to be important, and I didn't really spend a whole lot of time reading the material on that one. So it's like, anyways,
Well,
you know.
full disclosure, I didn't look at this at all, I have to admit.
Yeah, well, we've kind of been touching on it a little bit. I mean, because thankfully, they do quarterly updates, and so we kind of have a sense of what's coming, I mean, so this is the beginning of the fiscal year 27, budget development, and it we as I think we covered last time we talked about financials, they or what's the term that they use? Extending. Let me see if I can find it. Hiring and headcount targets elongated. This is on slide 4. To
Okay.
balance service levels, workforce assessment recommendations, and available financial resources. This is just one I want to keep an eye on, because I think we really do need to hire the people. We set out to hire. Especially people that allow the MBTA, to do the work. You know, especially on the repair and maintenance side. And even when it comes to some capital improvement, rather than contracting out. And then if you did have a chance to watch that presentation, by I'm forgetting the guy's last name, at the MBTA advisory board meeting on bus and rapid transit. I think he makes a really good case. For the improvements that we've been able to make. By hiring people and doing a lot of the work in house. So like I said, I just want to keep an eye on that, because one of the reasons that it's we're beginning to feel this squeeze is because the state, is cutting back on um, its contributions.
Yes.
So that was part of what caused the jump in the deficit for this year. It seems like it's going to be a contribution next year. So look, the state, the legislature has been very supportive. The government is very supportive. I understand that there's a squeeze all around, but I think when we start talking about, pulling back, the we just have to keep in mind, that it's not that we're cutting fat. You know, we claimed that we were doing that, back in the the late noughties and the early teens. And we saw where that got us. And just we have to be careful about that and keep pushing, as much as we can to make sure that we, keep the people on board, that we've hired and hire more. So that we flesh out what we need in order to have a system that performs well. Because I think if we have a system that performs well, then we can go to the public and say, hey, um, everything's going up. And we know it's hard because everything's going up for you too. But
Yeah.
we need to pull in, more fair revenue. And if we continue supporting, the means-based fare, then I think we can do the potentially larger increases, and not hurt lower income people nearly as much as we would if they were bearing the full cost. And what we really need to get back to, and I understand that the reasons we stopped doing it, partly had to do with the big snowfall 10 years ago, at this point 11 years ago, and then as I think we were beginning to pull out of that and beginning to feel that, hey, maybe we can do some fare increases, although I'm beginning to blank. I'm kind of thinking that maybe we did a fare increase in 2019, but certainly after the pandemic we haven't done any, because
Right.
when there's a pandemic, and then service just really fell apart then. But it's come back now. My whole point though is that we had pushed, and and it wasn't simply because we pushed, but I think because people saw the logic of it, that it was just better to do regular fare increases, on a particular rate, versus the large fare increases when you didn't know when they were going to happen. So I think the legislature had said, the T can do, 70% fare increases, every 2 years, which is essentially like 3.5% a year. I like to see us go lower than that. I like to see us do, like 5%, every 2 years. But then just be really, I mean, um, just really do it, just really follow through on it. And I can see maybe, doing a larger set of fare increases, in the short run, in order to try to make up for some lost ground, or maybe you do a smaller set, in the beginning, and say, hey, we're going to do 5% for the next 2 years, and then 2 years hence, we're going to do 7%, because we really need to make up some lost ground, and then go back to 5% every 2 years. But like I said, the legislation allowed us to do 7, and I guess we can stick with 7. But if we did 5% every 2 years, I think that might be even easier for people to handle, especially if you say you're going to do it all the time, or just be committed to doing it every 2 years.
Yeah.
So I think that would help a little bit. I'm not sure how much it would bring in. I think it'd probably bring in the better part of $100 million. That should be careful about speaking off the cuff like that. I should just go and see how much we're pulling in from fair revenue, and do the multiplication. So yeah, it's like, let's say it's 500 million. Well, it's fiscal year
What,
28,
one,
500
one,
million.
I'm
So
sorry. Go,
no, I was going
sorry.
to say, so 2.5% of 500 million is, oh, that's about 12 million, right? So it's not 100 million at all. So I was really off by order of magnitude, so it's not a whole lot of money, but it's something. Go ahead. Yeah. So
Well,
2.5% of 500. Yeah, it's 12.5. Yeah.
yeah, it's not 100 million. So so glad I corrected that now. Go ahead. Swig.
well, what I was going to say is that, some things are big steps and some things are little steps.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that we can anticipate, leaving aside things like pandemics or, armed conflict getting out of hand, we can anticipate now that climate is going to be a huge issue. And that's a really good example of something that you can do parts of it with gradual steps, but parts of it you may have to do with large leaps. And one thing that's a little bit comparable is water in the Netherlands. Most of our cities, including Boston, are flooding much more seriously in storms because that's where it shows up. But the long-term trend is going to force some decisions at some point. May not be in our lifetimes, but it's going to force some really big decisions. And it's hard to predict how that's going to come out. The in the Dutch example, it was more of a compromise than you thought, right? Because they actually both have a lot of dikes, but they also try to live with what the water's been doing. And so it's a middle road for them with quite a bit of nuance that involved really good engineers and also involved kind of changing the day-to-day habits of the population.
Hmm.
So, you know, since a huge percent of the world's large cities are on on the coast, I mean, people have been talking about climate in a big way for a long time, but there's one thing to discuss it, another to discuss potential policies, but it's going to be completely different when you actually have to deal with it or not deal with it. Maybe we're going to retreat. Maybe we just abandon the stuff that's within 100 feet of sea level.
Yeah, yeah. I think if if you can buy property in Worcester, buy in Worcester, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's what I always think of in
yeah,
Mass is
yes.
Worcester.
Worcester will become the new capital, of the state. So
They've been
uh,
waiting a long time too.
yeah. Uh, 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 well, I think it's an argument though for maybe not building, more rail, and just really, be focusing on, your bus network, and making, getting the cars off the road so the buses run better because that's going to be your primary mode of transportation of transit because that gives you the flexibility, if you start losing parts um, of the land, to water.
Well, another thing you can do is look at China, right? I mean, they're a very different country, huge population, and they're also accelerating in their economy over the decades faster than most other places. So they've had to make a lot of decisions, and some of the wealthy people are going to want Mercedes, and so you got to kind of compromise your way through that.
Yeah, I guess I I hate saying that the answer is just double down on bus. Like to me that's take roads and give them to buses. I think there's got
The alternative
I
is
think
to
we have
elevate.
to advance all modes of transportation, and I think there's a
Well,
way to do it.
we could
There's a way to do it. You're
you could elevate your trains.
right.
So
You have to explore other options in
yeah,
addition to that, because the reality is whether it is um I'm just such a proponent of rail
yeah,
and there's a right, wrong, or different. There's a segment of the population that will never take buses, and there's a segment of the population that will get onto a train. So it doesn't mean we don't invest in buses. We have to 100% invest in buses and get more dedicated bus lanes and continue to build that
Yeah.
out. At the same line, we also have to address the reality that there are, if you're ever going to get people off the roads and get people in cars, you have to give them a
Yep.
meaningful alternative that works for them. And in particular, the bedroom communities that are commuting into the city or getting into the city. To me, there's an opportunity to. I still believe in pushing more for more rail, both commuter rail and in particular extending. I'd love to see the subways extended out to 128 to 95.
Well, personally, I like elevated trains. I think a lot of people, a lot of neighbor people next to them don't like them. I think you have a hard time, putting up something elevated because people go, I don't want to look at that. And they tend to win the day. But I think they're probably cheaper too. Less expensive, than going underground. So that
By
was the
far,
reason.
yes.
That was the reason I just kind of went for buses because, like, I don't think we're gonna ever pay, or even get, to do the elevated train thing me, but I would go for that in
Well,
a heartbeat, but
Jonathan might correct me at the next subcommittee, but my recollection is that part of what makes infrastructure expansion in I'll just talk about MBTA rail territory. Part of what makes that um, more expensive is that we're bound to the compatibility with the existing rolling stock. And part of that is to try to minimize the transfers. I mean, if the Green Line extension could have been done with entirely different technology and didn't need to maintain compatibility or even use the same rolling stock, I mean, it could have been something completely different, but the transfers from, the new monorail maglev hotness at Leechmere to the old style Green Line would have been ridiculous. It would have been unfathomable, the transfer delays. So that's one of my understandings of what has us constrained to such relatively high prices for system expansion is we really inherently have to use the rolling stock we have and be compatible because transferring just it wouldn't work.
Well, I think though that one thing that supports Craig's vision is there are an awful lot of examples of how infrastructure has evolved differently in different places.
Yes.
And I think it's not everybody pays attention to that, but people who are aware of different formulas in Asia or in Europe I mean, there's a lot of options out there that you can use, and some of them are old and adapted, and some of them are brand new. Uh, so that those things are worth looking at. You know, we tend to forget how limited each of us as individuals is in coming up with solutions relative to kind of working together to figure out what solutions might be best, including obviously with professionals, but also with local leaders.
well, speak for yourself, Wade. I don't forget
Okay.
that, I don't forget that at all, so yeah, uh, uh, so 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 another time I'm confused, is on deck side three of this deck,
Slide three, you got
where
it.
they say that fair
Executive
revenue,
summary page.
yeah. So fiscal year 26, 28, fair revenue assumptions um, increase reflecting continued ridership recovery and installation of fare gates. You know,
Yep. That would
um,
be commuter rail. I think only South Station has gotten new fare gates. I think that's the only place where fare gates could have been added on the whole system, right? I mean, nobody's talked about um, putting fare gates onto bus stops in a long time. We just don't have the
okay.
room
Can
for it.
we take
So,
a quick side note on those fare gates?
Yeah,
Does anybody have any updates there? Because it's interesting. Like in talking to the average, like I was just at a an event with a couple dads the other day, and they I just overheard them talking about the fare gates there, and it it's this is one of those things when you're just in the public and you listen to people and you just kind of eavesdrop and you hear how they're talking and like it's a black eye for the T. Like, and they don't
Yep.
distinguish between Keolis or the manufacturer or of the gates or anything like that. To them, it's all the T, right? It doesn't matter if it was if the vendor screwed it up. It doesn't matter if the person who installed it screwed it up, or if Keolis screwed it up, or if the MBTA screwed up. It's the T. It's all kind of seen as one thing.
Yeah.
To them, it's like like, oh, they're like, they're never working, they're broken. Even when they do work, they have to have all the people there who are assisting you, and it's all the same people who are on the trains. So if the people who had just if the conductors had just done their jobs on the trains, they wouldn't have to be doing the same exact job while sitting there monitoring a gate that costs millions of dollars. It's ridiculous. Like, so it was and I get it. Like, I mean, you and I all know how the public works, how it's easy to just glob on and kind of throw something, but it this a this is one of those classic ones where like they seem to be losing the narrative on it, and they seem to be losing the story on it. That what was a, hey, this is great. We should really look at or no one's ever say it's great, but it's turned from a, okay, yeah, I get it, why they might do it, to a true black eye for the T that is becoming more and more unsalvageable at this point. Sorry, there's a lot to unpack there in that sentence, so I'll let you all react.
I hear what you're saying, and I can totally appreciate that it's a big change, and it does slow down slightly, but it just had to happen. Now, I'm not going to say that
so I guess so what they would argue is if the conductors did their job, it wouldn't have had to happen. This is a, like,
that's
what
the
you're
thing,
solving
though.
for. What you're solving for is revenue. You're not capturing revenue. Why aren't you capturing revenue? Because people are riding the train for free. Why the train for free? Well, you could either say
it's because there's not enough room on the train and not enough time for the conductors to be able to get through. It's really about physical restrictions on what the conductors and assistant conductors, the crew on board. It's really about how much they can cover in one station length or a certain amount of time. And it's
what are other systems doing, right? Like, if you take Metro North,
things like this, things like gates.
There are no gates at Grand Central Station, right?
Right.
Yep. So I can't imagine they have. So, like, what are they doing there? It's not that they have bigger trains or they're not, right? Like, I guess I'm struggling with the. So there's two things here, right? There's one, why can conductors in New York City do what our conductors can? And then two is, if we're going to do a big change like this, you got to nail it, right? You can't have gates say, well, they're frozen. Yeah. This is Massachusetts. I don't know what to tell you. Like you can't. If the gates are going to freeze, then we probably shouldn't have installed them. It's great you pick gates that work in Florida, but we're not Florida.
My recollection is that, just to use your example of Grand Central, the next stop, for example, outside of Grand Central, is a ways away, and the conductors actually have the time, right? Because if you're only going a short distance in New York, you're going to get on the subway, not the commuter rail. It just so happens that in Boston, we've got commuter rail that's making stops within the subway territory. And that's part of the problem. I mean, you look at the Framingham-Worcester line. I believe it came up in a previous ROC meeting that even going from South Station, Back Bay, Yawkey, which is not called Yawkey anymore, it's called Fenway.
Yeah, the Fenway stop. I
get the one by, it's not Yawkey anymore to what it was. And then you get to the new one in Alston Landing. Even that's not enough time for the conductors to collect. And if people are standing shoulder to shoulder, then it doesn't happen at all. And there are South Side trains where you've got people that are in the train standing room only, standing in the aisles, and the conductor just, I mean, I still think that the fare gates at South Station, and I'm reminding myself by reading this, Ruggles and Back Bay are, according to this article, Boston.com, coming this calendar year. Um, I think it's a necessary evil, should pay for itself, and when people get adjusted to it, it's
Yeah,
not going
but
to be any worse
I
than the
guess the point,
subway.
but I guess that would go to my second point, right? So let's say I buy your argument, which I think works one way, right? Works out of the city, not into the city. I would still argue that most of the people aren't getting off at those intermediate stations. Like you're not leaving South Station and getting like if you're leaving at 5 o'clock, the number of people like and your argument is well they can't take all the passengers by the time you get to Back Bay. Sure, but nobody's really getting off at Back Bay, right? Nobody's getting off at Back Bay. No one's getting off at Yawkey. No one's getting off at what's
Austin Landing, yeah,
oh,
there's a good amount you're getting off at Austin
a
Landing
limited amount,
last time I
sure.
heard.
But the reality is like I get it, you're making those stops. I you still have to stick the landing though. So if you're going to do if you're going to do something that people is already a major inconvenience for people, or that's going to be perceived negatively, like you're the bar is higher, right? Like if you if you're giving people free ice cream, um, and you accidentally run out, people aren't that upset because like oh well it's free ice cream. I guess they didn't have enough for everybody. If you're gonna make their commutes more difficult and potentially have them miss the train home and have to wait an hour, you better make sure that system works. That they're less forgiving, right? So like it's. I don't think you would have heard anything. I think people begrudgingly would have been okay with it and understood it if it all worked. But to install a system and then put trash bags over it, like it just screams incompetence, right?
Yeah.
There's an optics there that is really really bad. That you've lost people already. Like they've gone from your point of view, necessary evil, to oh these idiots can't do anything right. They can't even get a fare gate in. Like
Well,
you you lost people. Like I what I hate about it is all the good work that's been done over the last 5 years to bring the system back into a really good spot. I hate. To me, this is a self-inflicted thing to go live with something that isn't fully tested and is going to freeze. Like that to me is a you did it to yourself. Don't go. What's if it wasn't working? Wait another month. Do another month of testing. Like you've lived without it for 100 years. You can live without it another month. Like rushing it in and having them break gives you a whole lot of negative press, and
I don't. Well,
you're doing all
I
you're undoing all the good work you've done over the last 5 years to kind of build back the reputation of the team.
I don't know if there's any evidence that they were rushed into place. I mean, the same gates have been in service in North Station for what, like 3 years, right?
Okay, so don't put
I
in
think
ones that don't work. Then I don't maybe I'm presuming it was rushed, but you didn't they worked in North Station because they were inside. They're freezing outside.
yes, yes. So I think it's
I don't care if it's rushed or it didn't work, right? So in my mind that means rushed, but maybe the answer is it wasn't that it was rushed, that they didn't do their due diligence regarding the or the manufacturer lied about where it's permissible to install them, or something was missed, right? Like so and I don't know exactly what it is, so I'm using shorthand for rushed, but it's
yeah.
it's not good when a couple of just average guys who take the commuter rail every single day are
Yep.
sitting there complaining about it. Like it's just not that means, putting our oversight hats on, that means that we fail the public because they're not happy.
Well, let me call out what a Keolis spokesperson said in this Boston.com article, that ticket activations among passengers traveling to or from South Station are up 42% compared to that same period. That seems to imply that there was 42%, I won't say fare evasion, but revenue non-collection, I think, is one of the terms that's being used. That's huge. And that's more than a third. I mean, obviously, 42% more than a third. But that's a huge amount that was getting lost, apparently.
I get it, but you're not. You're going back to the why we needed it, right?
Yeah.
If
Yep.
I have a like it, if I miss my train to get home to see my kids' soccer game because your gates froze and I had to go I had to go stand some line to wait for somebody to validate my ticket and all that. I say, I don't care, right? Like, my response in that moment, it's no, yeah, that's great. I understand why you want to collect fares. Have the guys in the train check more tickets and have gates that work, but don't say, hey, it's all for the greater good, so I can take in more revenue. Don't worry about it, Craig. I'm sorry you missed your kid's soccer game, but we're going to get an extra 250 because we caught three
Let's
people who we wouldn't have caught. Like
how
it's a you can't disadvantage the riders you have to get new riders, right? That like that
how about
to
how
to
about
to,
we how about we
to get
say
fans.
this? I think at the moment we're operating with a lack of data about whether or not the gates actually failed in a way that impacted people. I mean, we know that the gates were all opened up and they were bagged, which looks ugly and looks embarrassing. But I personally haven't heard anything in any of the media or read anything in any of the media that actually said that the gates actually froze closed. I mean, I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying
Eh,
I haven't heard anything. Yeah, I know
I
the gates are have the potential to slow down people who aren't anticipating it. Yeah, if the gates are not operating properly because of
well,
cold weather and snow, sure they could be slower. I haven't
I,
heard about anything other than people saying, yeah, they're not working in the snow,
I,
and yeah, they're annoying.
I, I, if I guess I would say, and this is, I feel like I'm the only, I I'll go back to that oversight word again, right? Like it's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
negative. They're annoying and they look bad, and that's not good, and that means something went wrong, and that's unfortunate.
yes. And I'm
And we
not
can
going to
say,
deny that
like,
something
we can
went
go
wrong.
back to intentions and say it was the best of intentions, and if we were to, if we if that that that's fine. Like if that make like no one's questioning revenue capture and the benefit there. It's just
Yep.
how do we prevent this from happening again when they go live in Ruggles, other than just crossing our fingers and say, it is what it
Yeah.
is. We're getting right. Well, it'll work itself out. But
Yep.
Well, maybe we can find out what they are planning to do to make sure it doesn't happen when it goes live in Ruggles. Jonathan may be able to help us identify, or maybe actually is this a careless thing, Stefan?
I believe it is entirely keyless. Yes.
Yeah, all right. So then, do you have a sense of who you could ask in Keolis to talk with us about
Oh yeah,
this?
Mike Rooks.
All right. Well, let's try to get him. Maybe we can try and get him at the next operations meeting,
Yeah.
and just tell him like, hey, like this is an operations meeting. You're not on YouTube. And so
Right.
and
Oh
just
yeah.
have a conversation. I recall he's pretty open and
Oh,
what's the word?
absolutely. Oh, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, I'll go on record and saying he was very forthcoming.
yeah,
He engaged us on a whole bunch of different topics and
yeah,
didn't seem to be holding back at all.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
Mike Rooks. I've forgotten his title, but I know he's in upper management on an operations
Yeah. So
side.
let's ask him if he can come
Yeah,
to the next operations meeting.
will do.
All right. So CC me and Craig. When you send
Sure
the
thing.
email, so that we
Well,
know that it happened.
I'll CC all of you because we're all part of the executive committee.
Okay. All right. And if you can't make it to that meeting, then maybe we can make it to either the next Full Rock meeting or the
Yeah.
next operations meeting.
Absolutely. And
All right.
and Craig, I'm not trying to criticize your comments in any way. I absolutely respect what you're saying. And I'm glad that you're bringing these up. And I'm particularly glad that you're relaying information that you got from colleagues, friends, acquaintances. So yeah, so shout out to Craig, seriously, for bringing rider feedback to this venue forum. Oh, he may have stepped away, but hopefully you
So,
heard me giving you a shout out, Craig.
No, I did. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
so now back to pro forma stuff. So
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah.
so what I was getting confused on, and I'm just pretending, that I was being patient. Actually, I was doing some other research, at the time, on maybe something that we can talk about next. So I was a little confused. Actually, let me try and get my screen back. My system's not being responsive here because it mentioned that it was seeing an increase, in the revenues, because of increased riders. But then when I look at the comparison between the initial pro forma and the updated pro forma, it seemed like the numbers went down. My screen just went blank. Hopefully it'll come back without.
Okay.
Um,
While you're doing
um,
that, I
and
believe
you're
I
looking
can
at it. So
find it.
so that was that's the
Oh,
page, right? I think it's page 4.
okay.
So slide up a little bit, or maybe 3. You know,
Oh, sorry. Okay.
yeah, it's that one there, the executive summary, meaning
Oh, okay. With the
I,
variance. Okay.
yeah, and so I think the green one, is the updated one. No, the green
Make it
one
a little
is
bigger.
the original one, and the blue one is the updated one. And then it says that there was an increase, in the revenues, um, because increased riders. But then when I look at the initial versus the current, the numbers seem to be going down, and I just feel like I'm missing something basic. Like I'm just being dense here, or my brain is scrambled and I have things backwards. But it seemed like, yeah, it just seemed like they were going down. I didn't know what to make of that. And so I think you can make a case, that the riders are returning, and revenues are going up because we have more riders. It seems to, there's a graph below, that kind of shows a kind of slow increase upwards. And so I buy that. So like I said, I was just confused by these numbers here. But I think the deficit numbers are real. And they seem to be going up. And it's not clear, what we're gonna be able to do about that, especially if the gap has gotten bigger, because the state, is kind of maybe pulling back a bit.
Quick question for
Yeah.
you, Len. Am I referring to the right row if I'm looking at total revenue? The first line, sorry, the first row in the column.
Um,
I don't know if you can see what
yeah,
I'm sharing.
yeah. I can kind of see.
Okay.
Um,
Because that to me feels like all revenue, not just fare revenue.
yeah, it is all revenue. So they didn't really
Okay.
break out fair revenue, on
Okay.
this
Okay.
one.
Okay. Maybe I
Yeah.
misheard you.
But
Um, yeah. So
no, but if you look at the second bullet, I think it says, about, fares being, contributed to the increase in revenues. Yeah, okay, I got my screen back. The so actually, I guess it's the third bullet. Fiscal year 26 to 28 fare revenue assumptions increase,
Right.
reflecting continued, ridership recovery and installation of fare gates. And
yeah,
so
that's how we got to talking about the fare gates.
right. So
Yep.
now so the green column, green box is last year's performance, right?
Yes.
And the current performance, the blue one,
Yes.
and the total revenue number in the blue boxes are lower than the total revenue numbers in the green boxes.
Yes. Indicated
Yeah,
by the variance being in parentheses, meaning lower.
right. And so
Yep.
so I guess maybe I was expecting the variance to, not be negative if what they were saying is that, the fair revenue assumptions increase, but maybe what they're saying here is that or maybe we can assume here that if the fair revenue assumptions hadn't increased, meaning that variance would be even greater. Maybe that's the way I should take. That's the should take home from it. Okay. All
That
right.
seems fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
that
Okay.
rings true for me.
Yeah. So, all right. Yeah. So fair revenues. So yeah, on the next slide 4,
Yep.
we do see fair revenues increasing from 457 to
Yeah.
495 to 525. So that's made me
Ridership
aware.
recovery, service improvements, fare inspection, South Station fare gates. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I guess that's where that. Okay. All right. I see it there. Okay. Well, see, this is a case, Wig, where I even more fully appreciate that because there are multiple minds here. We, I understand things better, so I knew that you all would be help me out of the confusion. So
Oh, I mean that happened to me like 15 minutes ago when
yeah,
I had misread something on the previous one, and I mean I was kind of talking it out myself, and I think I got my own answer. But yeah,
yeah.
oh yeah, you guys always bring a fresh look to this stuff.
All right. Well, okay. Well. In the end, they say, we got to see what the House Ways and Means Committee, comes up with for the budget, and
Um,
we'll see what the state's going to say they're going to give us. But what they say is just not there until they sign off on it, and who knows when that's going to be. They were pretty good last year. I think they got the budget done. By the end of the fiscal year, right? I think they came in either like just before June 30th or soon thereafter. If we weren't waiting until like August or September, so hopefully they'll stay,
mm,
stay on in behave in a timely manner. But that said, if being late gets the team
yeah,
more money, you can be as late as you want to be. Just like
yeah.
just like get the team more money. You get all the transportation more money if we can.
I do have to call out just because I'm thrilled to see it moving forward slowly but surely that the new commuter rail contract, I mean, the word assumes is here, but um, assumes increased mobilization costs. And oh, is the assumption also assumption of Fairmont Light electrification? Hopefully not. Hopefully this bullet item here is not assuming Fairmount Line. Hopefully that is going to be a reality.
I
Which
think you're reading that right.
Okay, I hope so. That's, well, I try not to use this word too often. That's going to be transformative, I think, for that corridor. And I'm sure you would tell us that as far as local emissions, it'll be one of the best things that's ever happened to that Fairmont Line corridor.
Yeah.
Probably the best thing that's happened to that region since the steam railroad got replaced by the current Ashmont branch of the Red Line back in, what was that, like 1930s, 1920s, 1930s?
So do you think it's going to run faster? Experiment line?
Oh God, yeah.
All right.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Electric multiple units.
All
Oh
right.
God, yeah. The acceleration and braking characteristics of those ought to be
Yeah.
comparable to like subway.
So
Yeah, but you also have to take into account the number of sets you have and the number of employees you have and all that too, right?
Yep.
Like, so you would have to I don't disagree. Acceleration in stopping is one part of it. Being willing to run the service at higher frequencies and choosing to do more aggressive schedules as a result of having the technology available to do it is the other piece of it.
yeah. So do we
Right?
know the capital outlay on that? I should know this, but
I
maybe
don't have it handy.
yeah, I mean, so do you know how many train sets you're going to have? I mean, of the so it's going to be like new motors, right? But are they going to need new coaches too?
Oh yeah. Oh, it's all new rolling stock.
It's all new rolling
Yeah.
stock. So
And I think the last thing we heard was the likelihood is good that they're going to be battery powered.
yeah.
I don't think it's 100% decided, but it's a high likelihood.
So the question is, me, how many train sets are we getting versus how many we have, right?
Let me see if
Hmm.
I can find it.
Although I guess maybe if they run faster, you could have the same number of train sets and get better service.
Oh, that
Yes.
makes
Oh,
sense.
got it.
Yeah.
Here it is. This is off of mass.gov. Battery electric. 54 million. I'll make it a little larger. This was over a year ago. This is over, at least it's like 18 months ago. Um, yeah, battery electric multi-unit. What was the number of train sets? Is that in this article? Sorry if I'm scrolling while people are trying to read it.
Oh, that's good. That's fine. Mhm.
Where's
Well, what do you think? In 3 years, we'll just have an AI do all this work, and we'll just ask them questions and get the
Yeah.
answers.
Well, I mean, what we have to do is just kind of throw the documents, into, an LLM. I'm
yeah,
experimenting with Notebook LLM. You throw the documents in, Wig,
Right.
and then you can just run the query.
Right.
I right now you kind of have to point to the website, which would probably work, but if you be like Notebook LLM is like kind of fine tuning your own GPT. Actually, it's not like fine tuning your own Google, the Gemini, and so yeah, it'll be less than 3 years. We just either we need to throw the documents in, or someone else is going to throw the documents in and say, hey, you know what, we go here for your answers.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe you can even punch it into a browser now and get the answer.
Well,
Uh,
I look up a lot of things in Google, and inevitably the AI is at the top of the page coming back. Whether it thinks there's good knowledge or not is a different issue, but it's.
you have to do your own QC, but you have to do
Yeah,
that.
that's right.
Yeah, and so and
Yep.
you can you can tell it to give you the reference. I mean,
Oh yeah.
and
No,
Gemini will
it
generally give you the reference.
no, it's polite.
Uh,
I have no question about that. The attitude of it. I
I wasn't. It wasn't
Go ahead.
attitude. It
Sorry.
was it was more just say just tell it to give you the reference. It'll give you the reference. Polite or not, it's just going to give you the reference. If you tell it to give you the reference, then you can
Yeah,
click on the
for
reference.
me, it when I do queries, I guess it's probably what I'm looking after, but it tells me the extent to what it knows and what the sources are, and then the extent to which it. I mean, obviously the flip side is what it doesn't know, right? I mean, that's pretty easy to figure.
Well, it's like, I mean, to me, it's just like you have the reference. It's just like going putting a search in a browser and you get the link. I mean, you click on the link and you go to it. And so now instead of having to click on the link and go to it, it gives you the answer, but then it gives you the link. So if you ever like say, I want to verify,
Right.
the information, you then click on the link and then you find the information there. And then of course, that information is only as trustworthy, as well as it is. It's a little circular, but just because the link
Right.
exists, meaning there's text there, I it could be to my website and I could be saying stuff, it's like, wow, how credible is Len? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
for what it's worth, uh, I found a reference that cited a board meeting presentation that there would be 7 train sets of the battery electric multi-unit on the Fairmont line. But for the life of me, I can't find how many coaches that would B that make up the 7 train sets.
All right. Well, we don't
So
know that at this
to
point.
be
Okay,
to be determined. Sorry.
that's fine. So, do we know who the three bids were for commuter rail? I know Kills is one. Do we know who the other two are?
No, I don't.
Okay, all right,
Yeah, it's out there.
all right. Things I should know, but I figured I'd
Yeah,
ask
same
them.
here.
I mean, they're public, right? They are public at this point, Wig.
Yeah, I mean, I only know not from a substantive source, but just because I was mucking around and asking on, on Google or whatever pops up.
Yeah, I don't think the details are public until the winning bid is selected, but I think the bidders are public record. I think that's the
Well,
case for everything, isn't it?
it depends on how the process is set up, right?
Yes, correct.
Oh, okay.
You can shortlist, and then in that case, the second round is going to have a lot more detail. Just depends how you design the process.
So it's Keolis, Mass Regional Rail, of course, consortium of Alternate Concepts Inc., Transamerica Services Inc., and RATP Development, and then of course consortium of Transdev North America and Transport UK. So those are the three.
Yeah.
And
What depending on how interested in something I am, I decide whether I want to go 3 pages deep or 5 pages deep or whatever. And obviously, the deeper you go, with all those links and feeds.
yeah, well,
the-
I this is just one search. Me, it would just be the first thing that came up, one click.
Yeah.
It's on the
No, that's
MTA.
fine.
It's on
It's
the
fine.
MBTA's website, so it says it's easy to find that. Can't find the audit, but I found that, all right. Um, yeah, it's posted on December 18th, all right. That's interesting. Because I think the last time, I think there was just like two bidders. Yeah, there was just two, and the other one was like pissed that didn't get it.
Right.
I think Keolis was renewed, or maybe So I think there was a round before this, and it may have only been Keolis, or maybe Keolis was just renewed, extended. But then when Keolis officially first came on the first time, I forget who it was, but I think like a previous GM was associated. I want to say Mulhern, someone.
Oh,
You
you're
know,
you're right. And
yeah,
and the union guys did not like the answer.
yes,
And
yes.
they were bitching about foreigners
Yeah,
and how bad they were, and all the union guys were using Chinese iPhones.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was ugly. So ugly by that era's standards, and it feels like it was
Yeah,
another era. So,
yeah.
so
Well, it could be worse.
oh
We
gosh.
didn't find any dead bodies on the tracks.
All right, So, well, that's all I have. Yeah.
Okay.
If you want to
I
move on, anything else
Yeah, I just
interesting?
realized that we didn't have on the agenda the recap of the joint subcommittees, for which I took a decent amount of notes, which I'm pulling up right now.
I think
It's reasonable amount of notes, not as many as I've done before.
were we all there?
Um, Surprisingly,
I was there. Craig was there.
I
Were you there, Wig?
I
With
don't think so.
the student from BU was there.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
surprisingly, I never took down the attendees. Well, that's
and Jonathan was there.
my goof.
Miles was in Japan. Um, Sent his
By the
regrets.
way, that bus simulation was was
Yes,
fantastic.
absolutely. Shout out. I've got to get his name to make sure we've got it in here. Um,
Really great session, great attitude, fun to see, uplifting.
Oh, looks like Melissa is mentioned in the MIT Technology Review. I just got a Google alert on that, so
excellent. I can't believe
Melissa.
I didn't put his name in the
Oh,
note.
the student's
Ilias.
name is, yeah.
There we go. Sorry, Ilias.
You want to say Elias, but it's Ilias. I have to think Ilias. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I got
Does
plenty of
everybody
sleep.
have their popcorn for the State of the Union?
Oh,
Oh,
I'm gonna
no,
pass.
I have a meeting. I have a meeting at 8 o'clock in
Okay.
Washington.
Well, real quick, besides the spectacular demo and discussion
Yeah.
from Ilias, oh, and I've got to because this is on the record where not everything that we did at the subcommittee is gonna is noted here. Um, I've got to call out how it's genius that the level of detail is so high because it goes towards transit advocacy, not just something to do for fun. And
Right.
Elias and some of his colleagues have, I mean, as he shared with us in the subcommittee meeting, have
Yeah.
had a lot of people say, I'm going to start taking the bus because your simulation showed me how convenient it is. It showed me
Yeah.
what the neighborhoods are like, and now I'm all
Yeah.
eager to take the bus and maybe not even buy a car. That's a level of, um, for lack of a better word, advocacy that needs to be applauded far and wide. And it sounds like from all the media attention he's getting that applause, including meeting with state senators. And um, he did mention in the subcommittee meeting that he got to sit down with my state senator, Brendan Crichton, who is the
Yeah.
chair, one of the joint chairs of the Transportation Committee. So as far as knocking it out of the park, Ilias and his team are not only um, just succeeding left and right with the technology, the 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 delivery of the experience, but also with the outreach to the legislature, to the movers and shakers. So thank you again,
Yeah.
Ilias. Just
Well,
fantastic.
I have to say, I was surprised, by that statement, because I believe him and everything, but I could have seen it had it been VR. If someone's going, if you had like goggles and you got to really experience being on the bus, and seeing what was around you, so that you're really familiar with it.
Mm.
I could have seen it, but from that, it's like, wow, if they're getting that benefit from such a comparatively low tech experience, low tech compared to VR, it's like, well, that's great. I wouldn't have thunk that at all. Because for me, I could see myself like doing the VR thing if I was going like to a big subway station where I'd never been, and I just kind of wanted to know where the exits are, because I'm a little bit suspicious of the wayfinding, but to say, well, now I've been on a bus, and I've ridden that route, and now I'm like ready to ride that route. It's like, wow, I just never would have thought that
Yeah.
that would make a difference, but it is. And I was a little amazed. I didn't say it at the
Yeah.
meeting, because I didn't want to detract from the experience,
Yeah.
at all. But I was like, wow, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as far as VR goggles or not, maybe it's more a matter of if your screen is big enough, it becomes more like VR. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean, in
yeah,
other words, if you're in front of a computer screen or a or even a TV screen that's hooked up to your computer, if it's filling your field of view to a large extent, yeah, you maybe you don't
uh,
need VR goggles.
yeah. And and maybe I was missing some other context because maybe it's me. I don't know if he said that people feel safe or comfortable, but maybe if someone is saying like me, I want to like kind of know where the bus is going, and what kind of
Mhm.
neighborhoods I'm going through. Now that's a different thing, and if you're like
Right.
riding the route, kind of go, okay, well, what is this town? I mean, what is this like?
Yeah.
And from there, now you can start making some assumptions, as to who's going to be on the bus. That could be different. Now, he didn't say that,
Right.
but I'm just trying to get like what is someone trying to assess me by riding the route,
Yeah.
and for me, I mean, it's
Oh,
like
did
I'm
my
not
Zoom
generally
just
trying to
die?
assess,
Yeah.
what neighborhoods I'm going through. I just kind of like want to know, like, where's the stop? And normally
Yeah.
I'll like go, where's the stop and what is the stop? Or two before the stop, I'm gonna get off, so I kind of can start like be prepared if the bus isn't announcing them, and start looking around. I might look for some
Yeah.
landmarks, so that I have a sense of what to start looking for. And so it can be handy for that. Look, I mean, it's working and it's having a positive effect. So I definitely do not want to signal anything discouraging.
Yeah.
In my remarks here. It's just a little incredulity on my part.
Yep. I apologize. My internet connection got a little unstable there, so I missed a good 15 or 20 seconds of what you were saying. Sorry.
That's okay. It's not worth repeating. And I'm not saying that to be dismissive. It just really wasn't.
Okay.
So it's
But
okay.
Okay.
Hey,
I'm sorry, Craig, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say that, like I need to drop here in a minute, but we'll go ahead and make your point, and then I'll stand for your point and go from
Well,
there.
uh, the attitude was a lot of it too. The attitude was just so wonderful, really.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Definitely want to encourage more of it. So yeah.
Absolutely right.
It's really smart too, creative and in a level of ingenuity, and dedication and effort. It's like definitely makes you feel good about the next generation. Or is that two generations away? I'm beginning to lose track. I mean, it's like I think it's the
You may not want to know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Well, this is a good place to end for me. We're ending on a positive note. I like it. He was a good kid.
yeah,
Hopefully, maybe he'll join us more regularly as
yeah,
a regular member.
yeah. All right. Well, take
I
care,
would love
Craig.
that. Yeah.
I got to
Thanks,
One more
go
Craig.
question.
to.
How much snow did you get, Craig?
We got 2 feet here.
Yeah, yeah, about the same,
Let's see,
so,
man.
all right, take care.
All right.
Stay
Bye.
warm.
I'm gonna head out too, guys.
All right.
Okay.
Let me do one last thing. Give me about another 30 seconds if
Sure.
you
Yeah,
don't
sure.
mind, because I just wanted to call out that this, the standards and designs, design standards and guidelines
Yeah.
might be something more for one of the subcommittees. So maybe I will just bring that up. Um, we've been pushing that forward, and it's definitely
Okay.
worth reviewing.
You,
And thank you, Len,
that
for keeping it on the agenda.
Sure, I
that
can put it on
that sounds good.
so I can start putting it on the marketing, the CIF, the subcommittee
One thing
agenda.
The joint team.
I'd like
Yeah.
to know is how much of it is added or determined by them, and how much of it is um, kind of regulatory framing or federal partner framing, or I don't have the axe to grind about it. I don't think it's de novo, right?
Well, that's
I
a good
see your
question.
point.
I don't know. I'll take a look at them again myself. Well, let me show you that. I'll
Yeah.
take a look at them in more detail to answer that question. So I mean, I'm sure some of it is Fed and or state driven.
Yeah, and I have no idea where the boundary lines are, but that's what I would expect.
That's a good point. I guess maybe at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. No, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say it doesn't matter because with the current federal administration turning everything on its head, yeah, the boundaries between uh, federal regulatory and local regulatory, yeah, they are huge.
Oh, in practice. The other thing I was thinking about a little bit in today's meeting is the difference between the airlines advertisements that you see on TV, which are perfect world, and some of my own flight experiences over the
Oh, geez.
last, 70 plus years. You know, they can vary quite a bit.
Oh, yeah.
70
Yeah.
plus years. Wait, you remember the trips you were taking when you were 4 and 3?
Yeah, I flew by myself on a commercial airline when I was 4 years old.
Wait,
That
really?
was that was more than
No
70
kidding.
years ago.
No kidding.
Yep.
They had
The
planes way back then,
stewardesses
quick.
were super
Funny.
nice. They were like, "Oh my God, we got to take care of this 4 year old."
That's amazing.
Yeah, they actually, I think they enjoyed it. Because I wasn't a cranky 55-year-old.
So as I recall, you took the bus by yourself. So did you take the bus by yourself to the
Well,
airport? And
no, yeah, the bus I took without telling anybody when I was 2. Um, and it wasn't near my house where it stopped. I had to walk and cross a couple streets. Um, but the plane, no, my mom brought me to the airport, and the flight attendants were just, it was just going from the New Jersey, New York area to Portland, Maine. But I got really well taken care of.
that's nice.
I love it.
Oh, so
Yep.
so yes, maybe we can also put on the um MCOP agenda or the
The
joint
joint,
subcommittee
yeah, the joint
agenda,
subcommittees. Yep.
the transit planning studies, out of MassDOT, because they're kind of interesting. In fact, the whole MassDOT, SPR is pretty interesting.
Sounds good, Len. That
Yeah,
sounds interesting.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
let's.
yeah, I kind of found out about this because I asked a question about um the coordination between CTPS, and MassDOT, for one of its programs. It's transportation mitigation program. Because I was kind of like wondering, well, what is MassDOT doing? Yeah, and and I was expecting a pretty like direct answer to that. This is what they're doing, and then it was like, well, we'll get back to you on that. And so it's like, oh, and so I waited a little bit for the person to get back to me. And he didn't. And I was like, okay, well, let me see what I can find out on my own. And so I started looking around and then came across the MassDOT SPR. It's like, oh, that's a very interesting document, I mean, because I was like kind of wondering, like, I had started wondering at that meeting when I was asking that question, is like, does MassDOT have the equivalent of a UPWP? I mean, like, do they lay out like what they're going to do, from year to year? And this SPR is kind of like the equivalent of that, I mean, they have a
Yeah,
transit section,
that sounds
you know.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
I got to get off, guys.
okay.
Sorry.
All right, take care.
That's okay, no problem. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, we should definitely hit this for the joint subcommittees.
all right,
Yeah.
all right.
Um,
Well, so that was it for me. So
and that's it for me too.
okay.
I don't see any comments from YouTube. So, all right, I'll be formal. I make a motion to adjourn.
I second that.
All in favor? The two of us. Yes.
Hi.
And the motion carries.
Man,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, it
Stay
was
warm
clarifying.
and
Yeah, it's worth my time. So I think it was
likewise.
shoot. Yeah, all right.
Yep. I
Take
enjoy
care.
it.
You too.
Thank you. Good night,
Bye.
all who's watching.